Hello, my friend. Welcome to PMBOK Gold. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that I never get tired of talking about. We're talking about earned value. Now, I know some of you have been studying earned value for a while, and you're quite advanced already. You already know a lot about earned value. But for those folks who may be in the middle of the road or still wondering about this topic, I thought I'll just show you really quickly today a few ideas to help you in your earned value. I remember the first time encountering earned value, I was absolutely mystified at what exactly this thing meant. I just couldn't understand. What exactly do they mean by these formulas? And it wasn't until I actually began to practice earned value that I began to understand it beyond what was in a book. I can tell you, it's one thing to read about earned value to pass the PMP exam, and it's another thing to actually practice these principles and for them to become part of your everyday life. That's exactly what happened to me in a well-known Fortune 500 aerospace company where my job focused entirely, everything was 100% focused on earned value management. Now, when I started, I understood the formulas, but I didn't really see the value of earned value until I began meeting with management in meetings, and management would ask questions regarding these earned value graphs, and we would have to give answers. And that forced me to understand beyond the formulas and the theory, the pragmatism of earned value. And what I'm going to be teaching you today is based on my view of earned value. I see earned value like this. EVM, they call it EVA, earned value management or earned value analysis. It has to do with three, I call them core metrics. Your core metrics are known as planned value, earned value, and actual cost. Now, these words are easy to remember, but what do they really mean? I want to invite you to go below the surface with me. It's all well and good when we say, oh, PV, EV, and AC, but we really need to know what these mean to make it easy for us as we study for the exam. Planned value is all about the promise. Planned value is what you promise. You need to link that to a promise. What kind of promise? Well, think about a promise you make to management. This 10-mile road, I will tar this road with $10,000. You see, that's a promise. It's a promise to tar this road with this amount of money. Now watch this. Part of the promise needs to be linked to a time box of days or weeks or something else, but days. And in this instance, I'm going to say in 10 days, I will tar this 10-mile road with $10,000. Do you see the elements of the promise here regarding planned value? Planned value is a promise regarding schedule and budget. Do you see that? It's a promise. You got to think about it with the schedule and budget component so you don't miss it, okay? So in this example, let's assume the work begins. What would you expect? Would you expect to see the work progress at a uniform rate? Yeah, let's say we expect to see it at a uniform rate. In other words, in the 10-day period, you expect to see $1,000 spent for every time period. $1K, the same thing all throughout. Do you get the picture? Okay. So if I asked you, by the time we get to day 5, how much of the road do you think would be complete by then? And you'd probably say 5 miles. Good. Now we're getting into the zone of what exactly earned value is. Okay, you've got an expectation that by day 5, you would have done 5 miles. 5 miles are tarred. And you also have this expectation that $5,000 would be spent, right? This is what you expect based on the promise, right? Now, in this little example, with the promise in mind, let's take a look at the actuals, okay? Now think about it. This is where you expect to be at the end of day 5. But let's say in my example, at the end of day 5, you are not where you think you should be. You are behind where you think you should be. Instead of you tarring this area, you only tarred this area that I'm shading right here. And it stops here at the end of day 5. Why is that? When you think about earned value provokes thought. Your earned value is the value of what you've accomplished. The value of what you've accomplished, as you can see, is only 3,000. You planned to have done 5 miles, but you've only done 3. So our earned value, EV, is actually the value of that. It is 3K at the end of day 5. Someone says, but how come? Because this is real world project management. It happens all the time. You plan to be at a particular point, and because of certain enterprise environmental factors, you're not where you expected to be. So, based on what I've said here, my friends, the planned value at the end of day 5 is supposed to have been $5,000, right? But we can see the earned value is $3,000. We did not accomplish these two like we thought we would, in addition to what we have accomplished. Okay? Now, here is the last metric, because if you go back to my initial sketch here, I defined planned value as the promise, 5K. Earned value is the value of what you've accomplished, the 3K. What is actual cost? Actual cost is how much you spent to accomplish what you have. You've accomplished $3,000 worth of work. But the question is, how much did you spend? How much did you spend? That is actual cost. Earned value is the value of what you did. What you did, what you promised, what you spent. What you did, what you promised, what you spent. What you did is earned value. What you promised is planned value, right? And what you spent is actual cost. You got to think about it in these easy terms. Did, promise, spent. And if you think about it like that, you can throw in the last metric, actual cost. And actual cost, I am giving it to you in this question. If I say every day of the project from inception up till now, the project team spent $1,200. From my statement, you should be able to work out, whoa, if the team spent $1,200 every day from inception till now, well, that means this is day 5. Think about it like this. This is day 5. They spent $1,200 every day. What day are they on now? Day 5. Then actual cost is going to be 5 times 1,200. Remember, they are late. So you got to infer these kind of details from the question. This is $6,000. So your actual cost is 6K. Do you follow? Plan value is 5, actual cost is 6, earned value is 3. What does this mean? What I did was 3,000. What I promised was 5,000. What I spent was 6,000. Is this good or bad? To have promised to get $5,000 worth of work done, but to only have done 3,000, that is bad, obviously. What about to have gotten $3,000 worth of work done, but to have spent 6,000? That is bad as well. You spent twice the amount to get that work done. You spent twice the amount and you got half of that amount worth of work. Bad all the way. And these are the metrics that we need to plug into what we call derivative metrics. What are your derivative metrics? Your derivative metrics are what we call supply chain, the month of September, and children eat a little, or maybe children eat a lot, it depends. But this is SPI, where we have indices, we divide. So this is going to be division, where we have earned value, starting all of these formulas, the indices have division. And these are variances, and the variances have subtraction. And this is planned value, as you must have guessed, and that's actual cost. And you have the mnemonic, someone else's problem, like that. Children eat a little, or children eat a lot. Depends on whose kids, right? Papa going down. Supply chain, or South Carolina, twice. These are ways you could remember these. And earned value is king. Earned value comes first in all of those. You might have watched my video on that. So what am I trying to tell you here? These metrics show you schedule performance, cost performance, schedule variance, and cost variance. If you have a variance that is greater than 0, that is good, whether for schedule or cost. If you have a variance that is less than 0, that means you're going into negative. This is bad. This is undesirable. Negative variances mean unfavorable schedule performance, behind schedule, or over budget if you are less than 0 for the CV. So all of this stuff is talked about on page 267 in the 6th edition of the PMBOK guide. Okay, so whatever version you're reading, just make sure you understand the implication of this. What about the indices? Anything equal to 1 means you're right on target. On target. But if your indices are less than 1, this is unfavorable. We don't want that. If your indices are greater than 1, that means you are either under budget in terms of the cost performance index, you're under budget. If it is greater than 1, the CPI is greater than 1. If we're talking about schedule performance index and it's greater than 1, you're ahead of schedule. However, there is a cause for concern if your indices are so much greater than 1. For example, if you have a CPI equals to 5, that means you are 500% efficient. For every dollar you spend, you're getting $5 of work done. So concern, did you pad? Did you lie in your budget? See what I'm saying? So my friends, those are your metrics. And just remember, earned value always comes first. Okay, now armed with these formulas, you should be able to, in this question, calculate, based on these numbers, the SPI, the CPI, the CV, the SV. And if you do that, earned value is 3 in all of those, because it's the same. We divide, we subtract. Where you have the S for schedule, you'll use the 5 because that was the planned value. 3 divided by 5 is 0.6, and 3 minus 5 is minus 2K. What about the actual cost? It was 6, and we have 0.5 and minus 3K. So you can see these are less than 1 and these are less than 0. Bad performance. What does it really mean? 0.6 SPI means you're only 60% efficient schedule-wise. What does a 0.5 mean? For every dollar you spend, you're only getting 50 cents of work accomplished. That's very poor. You're only 50% efficient cost-wise. In terms of the schedule variance, minus 2K means you need to do $2,000 worth of work to catch up with the schedule. And we can see that because remember, at day 5, we were supposed to have been here, but we are here. And you can see this 2K worth of work is what hasn't been done. All right, what else? Well, taking a look at the variances, for cost variance, you can see you have spent $3,000 more than what your work was worth. Your work is worth $3,000, but you have spent $6,000. Okay, and that's really what these formulas mean. And that is how you should approach earned value. It's not so much understanding the formulas, but it's understanding how to apply the formulas. Can you apply the formulas? Can you? Let's go a step further. I want to introduce you, and I write them in all sorts of orders just so that you get comfortable with them. I want to introduce you to the 4-letter acronyms used a lot in government space. When I practiced earned value in this firm, we would ditch the 2-letter acronyms and use the 4-letter acronyms because they made more sense to management. So they would call planned value the budgeted cost of work scheduled for a time period. And that made sense. Think about it. In my example, the budgeted cost of work scheduled for 5 days was $5,000 worth of work. We call it the budget cost of work scheduled. That is what makes PV different from everything else. It's the time box, that schedule factor, okay? Earned value is called the budgeted cost of work performed. The budgeted cost of work performed. This is what you did, remember? Okay. Last but not least, actual cost is called actual cost of work performed, the actual cost of the work. Okay? There's a difference between the actual cost of the work and the budgeted cost of the work. You see? That's why I tell folks, in order to wrap your mind around earned value, don't think about how cost is tracked traditionally. A lot of times people say, oh, how much have you spent? 50. Oh, how much is left? 50. Oh, we're good. No, you're not. Because you spent 50, but that is only worth 25 when you look at the earned value. Earned value is 25, actual cost is 50. You think you're good because you're in the middle of the project? No. So that is not how to track cost on a project. A lot of times people look at the money left. Do we have enough left to finish the work? Is usually the question, and a rough guess. That will take you so far, only so far. And that's why I would recommend looking at earned value as a way to track projects. It actually lends to more accountability. I remember in a meeting once, management said, why is the earned value this number? And the actual cost is this number, and the planned value is this number. In other words, how come you look so good? How can your CPI be greater than 1, like a 1.2 or 1.3? Why is that? This cannot be, because this is a level of effort, earned value approach. So why do you have a 1.3? Long story short, we were able to unravel what was happening, why the cost was higher. The cost performance index was higher than 1. It was for a reason, but that's for another time. I hope this helps you, and I wish you all the best as you study earned value. This is but the tip of the iceberg. You want to look for my videos on YouTube regarding earned value. I go into a lot of detail regarding them, especially the EACs. You want to look for my video called The 4 Faces of EAC, and also another video on EAC, and there are about 6 videos on earned value management. I hope this helps you. Thanks for joining me on Earned Value Management Basics on PMBOK Gold. Take care. Bye for now.